Attorney General Wilson, thank you so much for talking to me. It's good to see you.
It's good to be here. Thanks.
I wanted to talk to you about your campaign. Congrats on making a spot in the runoff. I know that's a hard feat, and I know you're excited about it. You are going up against Pamela Evitt, and she's been lieutenant governor now for 8 years. Why should voters choose you instead of more of the same?
Well, first off, I want to thank the people of South Carolina for giving me the opportunity to make it to this place. They've allowed me to serve as their Attorney General for the last 15 years. You know, public service, Jackson, has been baked into my DNA. For the last 30 years of my life, I've had the privilege and honor of serving as a combat veteran, serving in the National Guard as a colonel. I've had the opportunity to serve as Attorney General for the last 15 years, and for the last 20 plus years I've been a prosecutor. So in some form or fashion, I've been serving the state for a long time. This is my home state. I've been here nearly my entire life. My family's from here, and this is a state I care deeply about. When people ask me, you know, what are the biggest differences between you and the people that you're running against? And I would say, look, as the governor needs to be someone who has demonstrated an ability to not only be a leader in South Carolina, but have delivered real results for South Carolina. So as Attorney General and as a prosecutor, I have overseen the prosecution of thousands of child predators, violent criminals, drug dealers, corrupt officials, which is why over 80% of Republican sheriffs in the state have endorsed me. They didn't endorse me as a result of a favor with someone else. You know, they endorsed me because of my demonstrated leadership capabilities in the public safety arena. That's one thing I want to say. So demonstrated ability to deliver results on the law enforcement. As Attorney General, I brought hundreds of legal actions against the Biden and Obama administrations. I have supported the president in ways that no other candidate in this race has. I mean, the other candidate goes to rallies and stands up there and does the thumbs up picture. I actually defended the president in his legal efforts to the Supreme Court on election integrity and had over 30 complaints filed against me to take my law license. It cost me 4 years of my life and tens of thousands of dollars to get it all dismissed. It was dismissed because it was frivolous, but I laid my livelihood on the line for the president, defended the president in a 21-state coalition at the U.S. Supreme Court in his first impeachment. I defended the president's executive orders countless times, all the way to the Supreme Court. So I have defended the agenda of the President of the United States. I have defended our conservative values. I have fought back against federal government. I have fought back against vax mandates. I've defended religious liberty, the Second Amendment. I have defended the people of South Carolina time and time again. The other person in this race has taken a lot of photo ops, has cut a lot of ribbons. Not their fault. There is no power in the office of the lieutenant governor, but when you look at the two very stark records, I have actually led and delivered results. People talk about dodging, fraud, waste, and abuse from government. As Attorney General, I have recovered over $2 billion for the people of South Carolina during that time. What has she done? Nothing. That's the difference between me and the other person in this race.
I want to talk to you about Dr. Brannon Traxler because it's been a big issue amongst my following, and people are really upset about her appointment, whether it's temporary or not. Many argue she shouldn't be leading the Department of Public Health. And Pam Evitt has said that she has no place in her administration, yet she is McMaster's biggest ally, and he's the one who did that. So I guess what would you do on day one if Traxler is still installed as acting director of DPH, and why do you think she's there now?
I can only speculate as to why she's there now, and I will let the current governor and his administration answer those questions. I'll defer to them on that. What I can say is I am not bound by the decisions of the current governor. As when I am governor, I will make my own independent decisions, and I will have public comment on the types of people I'm going to put in positions of authority in the state agencies. But the people I put in those positions are going to reflect the values of the people of South Carolina. You know, what's interesting about the lieutenant governor, she takes credit for all of the things that the governor has done that people agree with and love, and basically says that she was in the room when it happened. But the second the governor has done something that people don't like or think is bad, she says, I had no control over it. So either she's in the room where it all happens or she's not, but she's taking credit for the good while saying I had no power to stop the bad. You know, here's the thing, if you're gonna be a leader, you gotta own it all. And so that is a big difference between us. On the Traxler matter though, when I win the nomination, then ultimately become governor-elect in November, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a transition team that will reflect the values of South Carolina and my vision for the future of our state, as well as my vision for modernizing and reforming government. And the people I put in those positions are going to share that vision. That is my promise to the people of South Carolina.
I want to ask you about some of your policy ideas in just a sec, but first, regarding income tax and property taxes, I know that all the campaigns pretty much have similar ideas on that. Just to put a fine point on that, how do you plan on making up the difference? If you're eliminating or cutting, where are we going to get the extra money from?
Well, here's the thing. Right now, the government takes money out of your paycheck and then takes that in the form of taxes and then prioritizes that money and puts it toward the government priorities. How about I let you keep the money in your pocket to begin with, and then you prioritize where you spend your money, and then we'll collect the revenue there. So here's how it would work. Over the last 10 years, South Carolina state government spending has grown at an average rate of 6.5%. The rate at which we spend money is going up at 6.5%. The rate of our population has grown at roughly 3.2%. So we are spending twice as fast as we are growing. What if we capped the rate of spending down to the rate of population growth? That is nearly $20 billion in permanent tax cuts. That money would have been left in the pockets of the people of South Carolina, and then they could prioritize how they spend it. They could buy things or consume things. They could invest it back into their small businesses, grow their businesses, hire more employees. You see where I'm going? And then all of a sudden, as the income tax revenues that the state government collects go down, other forms of revenue come up. You're also going to be inviting outside investments into the state of South Carolina because people will move here or move their business here or move their capital here. Let me tell you a real quick story that illustrates my point. About 7 or 8 years ago, I was out in Arizona at a conference, and a good friend of mine had just opened up a business out there. And he came and picked me up at the hotel. It was in Scottsdale. And he drove me over to his new business, and he walked me around and introduced me to his staff, showed me the whole operation. And as we were driving back to the hotel, we were talking in the car, and he was talking about how he would like to maybe one day move his headquarters to the southeast. And that's when I pitched South Carolina. I said, you should come to South Carolina. He says, what's your income tax there? I said, well, I think at the time it was about 6.5%. I said 6.5%. He said, when it gets to zero, call me and I will seriously consider moving to South Carolina. That person was Charlie Kirk. There are thousands of Charlie Kirks out there who are wanting to come to South Carolina, but that income tax is a deterrent to them. So what I would say is that Charlie Kirks invest in South Carolina, small businesses keep their money, the economy grows, the income tax revenue that we lose will be replaced by other forms of revenue that will grow because that money is not going into people's mattresses. It's going to go back into the economy. I trust the people to prioritize how they spend money more than I trust the government. The economy grows, and then all revenues grow, and the core functions of government can continue to be paid for. At the end of the day, other states are doing this already.
Yeah.
We can do it too.
Very good. I want to talk to you about growth. You mentioned people coming to South Carolina. It's one of the hottest spots right now, especially in the upstate where I am, and obviously the low country and everywhere in between. I know you can't put up a sign that says don't move here. I mean, we want people here. We've got to have a thriving economy, but we also have to be smart about how we manage growth with infrastructure challenges, roads, utilities, etc. Do you have some plans for sort of routing that growth and trying to curb any issues that come along with it?
Well, yes. First off, you have to have a whole approach to it. Right now, we kind of do everything in silos. State government's talking about economic growth, over here, but then all the municipalities and counties have their own agendas, and I think there needs to be more engagement between local governance and the state level governance on how we want our state to look, because obviously you want there to be a synergy between local government and state government. The other thing we have to recognize is that infrastructure in rural areas is dilapidated as it is in urban areas, and I'm seeing a lot of people move from rural areas to more urban areas because they don't see opportunities in those rural areas. And the reason they don't see opportunities in those rural areas is because there's no infrastructure to support growth of opportunity. So they move to a urban area, and the urban areas overgrow, becoming congested, and the infrastructure becomes even more dilapidated because it can't take the growing population centers in the state of South Carolina. So it's kind of like a circle. It's like a cycle.
Yeah.
And so we have to have a comprehensive approach to ensuring that there's adequate infrastructure in the rural areas so that people want to stay and that businesses can grow and thrive in the rural areas and populations don't get concentrated in 3 or 4 areas in South Carolina. So, and again, we don't want to lose the character of the communities that we live in. I'm not saying that we drop a Scout Motors in every small town
Right.
and blow up the rural area. Some people like having to drive 25 minutes to get to a store. They want to live out in the country. And then other people, they want to live right above a store, in an urban area. We have to respect the character of the communities that we live in, but we can do a better job of coordinating that growth.
Absolutely. There are allegations out there that you gave yourself a pay raise right now. Do you want to respond to those?
First off, to everyone listening, I cannot give myself a pay raise. What's interesting, the Lieutenant Governor's campaign is attacking me on that. The governor signed a bill that sent all the constitutional officers to the agency head salary commission. So Pam Yvette's administration, through the governor, signed the bill putting all the constitutional officers at the agency head salary commission. The governor has 3 appointments on the commission and they all voted for it. The constitutional officers had not received a pay increase since the early 1990s, and the legislature said over 35 years no pay raise, we probably need to fix that. And so they took the salaries out of the statutes, sent it to the agency head salary commission. The agency head salary commission, with the governor's appointed members, actually voted on that. I didn't ask for that number. That's what they did, and they're saying I did it to myself. Again, her campaign is about tearing me down. My campaign is about building you up, and that is the big difference between us.
I saw on primary night you made an appeal to the people who supported the other campaigns, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to do that again because I know that you've been endorsed by Nancy Mace. I know that
and Josh Kimbrell.
And Josh Kimbrell as well, and I know that Ralph Norman has an announcement later today, so we'll see what happens there. But what do you say to the people who supported those other candidates, and why should you be now their second choice if you weren't their first choice?
Well, during the primary, if you've ever heard me speak, I told people, I obviously wanted your vote for the primary, but if I couldn't be your first choice in the primary, could I be your second choice in the runoff? I expected there to be a runoff. Each of these candidates, while they were my opponents or my competitors, they were not my enemies. There were times that they felt like they were my enemies. But each of these candidates running for governor brought a unique appeal to a certain demographic of the state of South Carolina. People that loved Nancy Mace loved the fact that she was a maverick who kind of shook up institutions. People who loved Ron Reddy loved the fact that he was this multi-millionaire outsider businessman with a message for reform, and they liked that message. Some people supported Ralph Norman because they saw him as this conservative juggernaut who kind of challenged the status quo. Everybody had an appeal to the base. What I came out and was trying to do was to tell all of those communities of supporters for each of those candidates who brought something unique to this race, is that, look, now that I'm still in this race, you have a home with me. If you like to win any one of these candidates, your voice can be heard in my campaign. At the end of the day, my job is to be the governor for as broad a coalition in the state as I can, to be a governor for all the people. And whether you are a Norman or Reddy, a Kimbrell or a May supporter, or even an Yvette supporter after next week's runoff, I'm going to reach out to them too, because I feel like people want to know that their voice is being represented in how we govern the state, and I've committed to give them a voice in how we govern South Carolina. And so that was my call to them.
Before I let you go, the Trump endorsement was big. Pam obviously achieved that, the lieutenant governor. And I'm wondering, do you think it moves the needle significantly? Obviously, people in this state love the president. You're one of his supporters as well. And sort of your take on all that.
Look, Donald Trump is very popular in South Carolina. His agenda is very popular in South Carolina. Many people in the Republican Party support the president's agenda, and I am one of them.
Yes.
Okay. I also recognize that the governor is very loyal, and Governor McMaster was very loyal to the president. The president is very loyal to Governor McMaster. Governor McMaster was the first person in 2016 that was an elected official in the country to endorse the president. The president has not forgotten that. We all know, it was revealed a couple of weeks ago that when the governor obviously endorsed Miss Yvette, and then obviously the rumors of his son being on the ticket were all out there for several months. The president kind of confirmed those rumors, that the governor obviously was going to the president to encourage him to support his candidate and his son on that ticket. And that's politics. The president was being loyal to the governor. The governor was asking the president to do something for him. I think the people of South Carolina, as much as they love President Trump, they recognize that that endorsement wasn't based on Miss Yvette meriting the endorsement or that she was the best candidate. She was the beneficiary of a dear friendship between two men. But people of South Carolina are smarter than the other team gives them credit for. They know that I can support the president's agenda and fight for them just like the president does, and recognize that the difference between that endorsement and all the other endorsements, it was basically based on a relationship. Over 90% of the Republican Party knows that she received the president's endorsement. She should be running away with this right now, and she's not. That's why they're going so negative. That's why they're running lies and commercials saying all these horrible things about me that aren't true. Why are they blowing us up the way that they are? If they're winning as much as they should be, why are they doing that? I think everyone knows the answer.
All right, well, best of luck to you in the coming days. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks so much. This interview is sponsored by Elite Engineered Solutions, a private-owned business-to-business South Carolina small business established in 2015, specializing in providing ergonomic lift assist for the manufacturing industry. In addition to ergonomic material handling equipment, EES provides thousands of other industrial products to support facility needs for warehouse and distribution operations within South Carolina. Special thanks to EES for sponsoring today's video.